All right, we're gonna go over the water knot and the beer knot, and these are both knots they're basically bends for tubular webbing. And a bend is something that joins two tails of rope or webbing together. And in this case, we're doing it to form fixed loops with our webbing. Now, the water knot looks like this. I've already had it tied here. I'm gonna untie it and show you how we do this. And I do want to say, I learned both of these knots from Jeff Jepson's book, The Tree Climber's Companion. And he's got a lot of great knots in here, and he gives great explanations and tips about them. And especially the beer knot, that was kind of unique. So beer knot's a little bit harder, but I am going to cover it in this video. Okay, so the water knot is first. It's a very easy knot for tubular webbing. All you got to do is leave yourself enough tail, so and dress and set it properly. You start by taking one end of your webbing and you make just a simple overhand knot. Okay, then you get your twists out of your other side, and then you're gonna take this end and you're gonna trace it along the route of this overhand knot. That's all it is. But you have to decide which side you're going to stay on. If you go on top here, then you'll have to stay on top, on top, on top, on top, on top, and then you'll end up being underneath right here. I find that harder to do, to finish that way. So I start underneath, and that way I end up on top at the end. So anyways, I'm going to come underneath with this side and dress it up as you go. Just kind of lay that tail back across. All right. Then fold, keep following. You're going to fold under here. Okay, you can see that I'm going to come and fold it under here as well. And I like to just kind of lay it down as I go. All right, and then finally coming right through here. Now you can adjust this knot so that it's more in the center of these tails by pulling it gently and still keeping all of it dressed. Once it's in the center where you want it, you just pull both sides evenly and make sure that they stay on top of each other nicely like that. Okay, the strands should stay on top of each other nicely. You need at least 3 inches of tail here. Be advised, this knot can come undone after constant loading and unloading, especially because the nylon is, typically these slings are made out of nylon. They're very slippery. I've seen these come undone. So always check your tails before you load it. Make sure you're still good with long tails. Don't just trust it. If you're throwing it in the back of the truck and using it every now and then, one day it might actually be about to come undone. So I'm going to slide that over. We're going to do now a similar knot. It's going to be the same function. It's going to be a bend, but it's significantly stronger and nicer and neater, and it's not as bulky. So it's a much better knot. It can only work with tubular webbing, and by tubular webbing, I mean this right here that has the hollow, okay? The beer knot, as you're about to see, works only with tubular webbing. All right, now, hopefully I tie this quickly, but it's a little bit more difficult. So you start this knot by making your overhand similar to the water knot, okay? But you want to put this overhand knot further away for this one at first. And then the hard part, you're going to put this side into this side at least 10 inches. To do that, there's a couple of different tricks you can try. I'm using a tubular fid. I used to use a chainsaw file. Chainsaw file worked pretty well. But basically, I'm going to open this up and insert. You can see it's very tricky. It is very hard. Jeff Jepson recommends that you use a lighter to heat seal the edge of this rigid, the opening one, but you don't want to, and I'm not doing that, but if you do that, don't do it to this side, because the rigid melted scabs of nylon will stick, and they'll be very difficult to push through here. Anyway, once you get it started, you're going to use this FID or chainsaw file or whatever you have to push it through little by little. And when you get a good bite on it, it just goes nice and smoothly. But right now I'm not getting a great bite on it. I twist it a little bit. And I do try to make it flat inside there, but I can only, you can only do so much. All right, there you go. You can see I'm getting it to go in better now. You really got to have some feel with your hands to kind of make this work. It takes a lot of practice. You're probably not going to do very well your first time doing it. Okay, I've got almost a FID length here. It's pretty close. I'll maybe just do a little bit more. You can see it's going in there. The further you try to go, the harder it gets, obviously. Okay, I'm going to smooth that out now, because it's kind of crinkled up in there a little bit. So I'm going to take a minute and just kind of roll. I can feel it right here and right here. That's how much I've got in this side being buried into the other side, okay? All right, we'll call that good for now, for this video. You could keep going a little bit, but as long as it's long enough that the overhand knot can be in the center of it and you still have a little bit of tail on each side, that's what's important. Okay, now we're going to come back to our little overhand knot that we already put in. And this is the part where if you forgot to put the overhand knot in, you feel kind of sad because you did all that work for nothing. But all right, we're going to now work this overhand knot through. Okay, you can see where I'm doing this. Working this overhand knot through. And that's it. And again, you want to try to dress and set it to make it nice. But I've got overlap here, you can sort of see. And I've got overlap here, so I've got the same amount of tail there. And now I've got a finished beer knot. Now look at the difference of these. Okay. This is much cleaner, much nicer. I mean, this is the next best thing to just a total stitched configuration from the factory or something. Like this is the next best thing. It's 80% strength retention of the webbing sling, according to Jeff here. And also, it's less bulky than this. It's less bulky, and it's less likely to come untied on its own. Okay, it's just a better knot. So if you have the time to do this one and you have the tubular webbing, I recommend the beer knot. It's stronger and it's less bulky and it looks cleaner. But if you're doing it in the field and you don't have time to fool with it, or you don't have a FID, the water knot's a good way to attach webbing to itself. And also the water knot will work without tubular webbing. It'll work with just regular flat webbing as well. So they are both good to know for that reason.